Hey, Kay, so of the five, so 2005, you guys go to Omaha. I think you guys go 0-2 in Omaha because that's the year Gunderson kind of made the comment that, he had that famous quote that, hey, next year, we're coming back next year and we're going to win this thing. And six, you guys do that. And then seven is that famous team where, in theory, you're like Ole Miss 2022, where you're the last team in, but then you just go on this run and win the national title. What thinking about 2005 and six, like I'm trying to put my brain around that. Like, this is your 11th team. You guys have never hosted a regional, and what was that 2005 or 2006 regionals where you're hosting or supers? Was any of those regionals or supers more difficult than the others, or was this team just on such a roll at this point that it didn't matter?
Well, in '05, obviously, we got to host the regional. It was the first time in the history, I think, unless it happened before the format. And we were picked to finish last. I officiated Tyler Graham's wedding this summer. I laugh. I said, Graham, you want to kick my ass every day 20 years ago. Now I got to come to Bozeman and marry you. Let's go. So Jacoby and I were standing there in this beautiful setting talking about that. And he said, Coach, you know what's funny about that? He said, we were picked to finish last. And he said, you guys, when we set our goals, I said, I want you guys to be part. I want you vested in it. I'm not a coach that goes up and go, here's our standards. Really? Well, how can they be our standards if the players aren't involved? Like, if you say we do this or we believe in doing this and they're not part of that, but if they're part of it, you can. And he said, I'll never forget you. One of our goals was we wanted to win the league. And he said, when we would practice, he said, you'd say, you think that you're practicing like you're going to win the pack? Is that how you practice? If we can't practice like that, you got to go home. He said, you shut practice down twice. And he said, I remember the second time we go, okay, you know what? He's right. We're not, that's our goal. And if he wants to hold us to that standard, then we should have never said we want to win the conference if we didn't allow him to do that. And by God, I'll tell you what, the way we practiced in 2005 was the most efficient team I ever had practice. They were just like the 2017 team. You could put a 2 hour and 40-minute practice plan together in 2 hours and 25 minutes. You were done. These teams practiced so efficiently, and we had talent too now, but it wasn't crazy talent.
Right.
Those guys, they were young and they'd never experienced it. And we won the league. We hosted the regional. Shea McFeely hit a walk-off against Ohio State to open the regional. I think that we beat St. John's pretty handily, and Virginia was in that too. But anyway,
Mhm.
we won, and the great Mike Gillespie's club. They had Ian Kennedy on the mound. They had Clement behind the plate. They had Hart at third base. They were just really, really good. And we had beat them in the last series at home to win the league. They go to a regional, win that regional, and guess what? We got to play them in the super regionals again. We win game one with Buck on the mound. In game two, we got a lead, and our right fielder, we had a center track at the time, and his knee buckled on the track, and he dropped a fly ball, and they came back and beat us. And can you imagine Oregon State never going to the World Series in modern time? We went in 1952. They lose game two that they had won, and now they got to come back and beat the USC Trojans to go. And nobody really thought we were going to go. The one thing that I do remember saying is after the game is, after 60 games, if you're getting on your club, you got a problem.
Right.
It's like I said, guys, if you're as good as you think you are, go home tonight and make sure you pack for whatever you'd take to Omaha. That was it. There was no like, hey, we got to
Awesome.
do this. And because we were there, man. We doesn't mean you're going to get it, but we were there. We were good enough to win, and all we needed to do was play. Andy Jenkins hit for the cycle the next day. He's now coaching, ironically, at USC.
Yes.
Jacoby was really, really good. And then a big freshman named Eddie Kuntz came in and struck Clement out with the bases loaded and nobody out. Big,
Oh,
big. I think we won 10-8.
that's awesome. Very cool. Hey, so you started to allude to it. So I'm gonna fast forward through five, six, and seven. That there's been a lot written about those teams, and obviously it changed college baseball forever. You guys doing that. So the next team that was one of my favorites was 2013 because you have that three game, that you guys go to Omaha 3 straight years and very different ways. You think about the 2017 was so different than five and six. And then, you know, I picture from the outside there's an acclamation to now your program's just completely famous, and you have to you have to kind of get yourself, what's the word, recalibrated to that. And then 2013 was a team that, Michael Conforto, Dylan Davis, two of my favorites, the pitchers, Matt Boyd and Andrew Moore. Matt Boyd's still pitching, by the way, crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and so, and that team, if I'm not mistaken, you're playing in the Super Regional and you're beating Kansas State 2-1, who's an upstart, and it's like you're going to win this, and it felt like it's going to be this easy trip to Omaha. And then Ross Kivett hits like a bases loaded triple in the ninth, and next thing you know, the Beavs are down 0-1 in their own home. Super. So I wanted to get your take on that 13 team case, because it felt like that team this was wave 2 for your program as far
Yeah.
as Omaha goes.
Appreciate you bringing back Ross Kivett and the 2-out triple with good memory rooms. All that.
He's coaching too, and
Yeah.
he's a young star in coaching.
Yeah, I saw. I heard. That's good. Yeah, that club was really really good. We kind of got away from who we were after we won the championship in '07. We really were really good in the Northwest and areas like that. We started to get some people, further away. Matter of fact, the highest ranked recruiting class I ever had was in '08. I probably did the poorest job with handling that. 13 was an example of what we wanted to do, who we wanted to be. Really guys that were here to go to Omaha. And of course, you had the bookends. You had Conforto and Davis, and you had a guy named Tyler Smith played short. We had Rodriguez, but the pitching was really really good. And yeah, we hosted the regional. And I think we beat A&M in that regional, and the super regional with Kansas State. And I'll tell you, Kansas State was good. They were real good. They had real arms. We lost that game. I think that was game 2 that he did that. I think it was 1-1. I know it went 3 games, and then we came out, and Davis and Conforto hit back-to-back home runs to right center at our place, as you well know. That's getting on it. And in the first inning, and we got ahead, and I think we won that game 3-2. I think we only scored one other run. Matt Boyd had to come in and get the last 3 outs, pop up to Danny Hayes in foul territory at first base, and we went on to the World Series in 13. Good team. People forget about Jace Fry was on that club.
That's right.
Big leaguer. Tyler Smith played in the big leagues. And then there were some unknown guys, Andy Peterson, a little second baseman. He was a junior college guy, which we didn't have a lot of those guys. Calvin Kais played third base for us. His dad is who I think is a genius when it comes to hitting, and a lot of our hitting philosophies came from when I went to the Utah Baseball Academy clear back in the late 80s and early 90s. So Cav was there, and Cav could really hit. I had a guy named Tony Bryant. We had a good club. That's a great memory. I mean, we had a tremendous club. Little guy that played center field, Max Gordon, and that was a good club. And we went to the World Series. We just couldn't get, we lost to Mississippi State in game 1. It's hard to win, and it's really hard to win a lot.
Yep.
That's the separator. There's people that win, and then there's people that win a lot, and that's the separator. And that's kind of what bothers me a little bit about today's landscape in college athletics in general. I do think the players need to have freedom. I do think the players need to have people know it's about them. But I think that some of the difficulties you go through in a program with guys are some of the best things you experience in your life. I'm not sure that they're going to experience those things if things remain the same. But that 13 club, those guys still. We went to Conforto's wedding, and they were all there, and
That's awesome.
just very successful people in general. And it really, that group had great parents. We had Zach Reeser was on that club. He was a left-handed pitcher. His dad kind of spearheaded our parent group, and we were just great group of people.
That's awesome. And I remember Conforto as a freshman. He's a Washington kid, and I think he led the Pac-12 in RBIs. So true freshman, you're like, goodness gracious. And
he led the nation, Runes.
Nation, okay, yeah.
Played, and we lost at LSU. I'll never forget this. because I think it's such a great story. He somehow he either hit a ball off his shin or he ran into a fence. He did something. He was limping around the last 10 days of the season. So we do the X-ray. Everything's fine. Go to LSU. He's I mean, he can hardly run. He's limping around. Heroic effort by us. We're up by a run. Our closer comes in with nobody out in the first inning. It takes us into the bottom of the eighth at LSU in a regional. And that place was they threw. I can't remember his name. He's throwing for Toronto now.
Gosman.
Gosman, yeah, and Nola was on that club. So anyway, he goes off to Team USA, and he's back there, and I get a call from the trainer. Said, yeah, we ran him in here, and because of the pain, we did a bone scan. Found out he's got a hairline fracture. The guy's been playing with a broken leg for 3 weeks. Wow. So I said, Michael, you need to come home. He said, hell no, coach, I ain't coming home. I'm playing. I said, all right. So, Mike played 3 weeks of the season with a broken leg, and that kind of exemplified who that club was.
That's awesome. Wasn't it, if I remember Conforto's story, his dad was a Penn State football player and his mom was like an Olympic synchronized swimmer or something, right?
100% right. And we just went to Seattle. His beautiful wife, Cabernet, rented a suite, and they played the Mariners, and I got to see his mother and his dad and awesome. Most of his family. And so it was a good time.
That's so great. All right, so let's fast forward to, I'm going to do these two teams together, 2017 and 2018. And I can make an argument. It's like in modern college baseball, it's the most dominant 2-year stretch that we've seen. You know, the 2018 team is the one that won it all and beat Arkansas in the CWS finals. But the 2017 team, you guys went to Omaha with a record of 54-4. If I took a Division I team and only played Division III teams, I don't know if that team could go 54-4. I mean, and of course, the lineup was, we were talking about this beforehand. Like your lineup, those two teams, the core lineup was 4 first-round picks: Nick Madrigal, Caden Grenier, Trevor Larnach, Adley Rushman. You had 4 first-round picks in your 9 position players, not including Stephen Kwan, who's like this really good big leaguer. Michael Gretler is not mentioned there and might be one of my all-time favorite college players. But that like just this magical 2-year run. I'll give you one more factoid there, Case, and then I want to get your thoughts on these two teams. But like what really jumped out to me about those two teams, and I got to do both of your super regionals, is like just the way that team was recruited. Obviously, you had a bunch of Northwest kids, but you also had Madrigal and Larnach and Kwan were like NorCal, Sacramento type of kids, where your program had grown so much that the best kids in NorCal are picking Oregon State. Grenier was the best player in Vegas. He's picking Oregon State. It's like you guys are getting to go, not only you dominating the Northwest, but now you're going all over the place, where, the Southern schools traditionally would have had those players. So, yeah, I guess the obvious question would be, like, when did you know that those two teams were going to go on a crazy run?
The night that Grenier called me and told me that he just turned down first-round money with the 23rd pick in the first round. And he said, that's good news and bad news. I go, well, hell, what's the bad news? He said, you put up with me for 3 years. I'll tell you, it was amazing how that all went down. And in the recruiting thing, we got to the point where we stayed true to who we were. We wanted to dominate from Central California to the Canadian border. That's half of California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho. And then if we recruited a kid, say Kevin Abel out of San Diego, we recruited a kid, we didn't recruit the area. If we recruited a kid out of Colorado, we would never spend the time. We didn't have the time, the money but we'd recruit the kid, not the area. Really kept us focused on who we were. Or we would have missed on a kid like Kwan, or we would have missed on a kid like Larnach. You see, Kwan was a kid that really wasn't over-recruited. But if we were out in Texas and Arizona, which wasn't our niche, we would have missed him. And so, Madrigal, same thing. Madrigal calls me the day, I think day 2, he got drafted day 2, I believe. And he said, Coach, they're offering me $900,000. I said, that's a hell of a lot of money, Nick, but you told me you were a first rounder. He said, I am a first rounder. I said, well, then they should pay you like a first rounder. And he said, well, they took, I think it was 19th round or whatever. But I said, you have to decide whether you believe in who you are and what you told me, or you have to sign. And I said, that's a lot of money. It really is. But it's not a lot of money if you're a first rounder. And of course, he ended up being the third pick and got $7 million out of here. But those two guys showing up at the same time was crazy. And I had a scout tell me, you'll never keep both of them. They would both want to play short. Tells you something about them too.
Hmm.
They got the dog pile and jump on one another in 2018. Huge commitment to one another. Larnick became a player. I told our radio guy when Larnick was hitting 170 as a freshman, I said, this guy will put up bigger numbers than Michael Conforto when he really buys in, when he really believes it. And he asked me, he said, how come I'm not playing every day? And I said, that's what I want to know. And because you should, because you're good enough and you will. And so kind of a mix there. Obvious walk in the door and play right away. Nick Madrigal, Addy Rutschman type people, Grenier, Quan. Quan had to work his way in there. Larnick, part-time player his freshman year. So I really like that. The thing that was really surprising was, KJ Harrison played first base. KJ Harrison was
Oh,
a hell
that's
of a
right.
baseball player. Christian Donahue played left field for us that year. We moved him from the infield to the outfield. He was a little kid, a Hawaiian kid from Iolani. And so we had those two guys too. But the thing about that club that was really uh, unbelievable was the pitching really wasn't frontline guys. I mean,
Hmm.
if you look at the guys that were pitching for us at that time, Jake Thompson had never really had any success at the college level at all. And Luke had an unbelievable, phenomenal year, maybe the best year of anybody in the country. And then, if you look at Bryce Fimmel, he came here as a third baseman. And, I watched him play third base for a week, and I said, Bales, this guy better have another position because he can't play the infield here. And he said, well, seriously, and he pitched. And I said, perfect. It's fall ball. You know how fall ball is. We need innings, so let him throw. He got everybody out. I said, well, this guy's 88 miles an hour. How's he getting us out? I said, we can't hit. Guy went on to winning more games than anybody in the history of Oregon State baseball. So that thing of the 17 team was crazy. I don't know how that happened. I think we won 15 or 16 one-run games, had two 23-game win streaks. I don't think that I could ever do that again. I don't think we'll ever see that again. 54-4, phenomenal. It was. I wish I would hear again. I wish I had a real good answer for you.
Yeah, it was incredible. Just it was that 2 year run, just amazing. All right, so we're going to fast forward in a second, Case. I want to do this read again. Remember, everybody, college baseball's top facility equipment and netting suppliers, Netting Professionals. Netting Pros is proud to be the official netting partner of D1 Baseball and the Sunday Night Coach Conversation series. Learn more about Netting Pros by going to nettingpros.com. I say this every time. They have the best stuff, and these are incredible people. The folks at Netting Pros truly love college baseball. So it's the perfect thing where you get to support someone that really cares about our sport, and you're getting the best of the best. So, Case, before we go forward to like what the future of Oregon State baseball, anything stand out to you about the 2018 team as far as like my perception of it from the outside is it was, you were the national champions. 2017, you got to the Final Four, but it looked harder, but still that team was pretty dang good. I don't know. Is that a fair assessment that 2018 the trip was a little bit harder?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Madrigal broke his wrist uh, in the fifth game of the season. I mean, Nick missed 20. I think it was 20 conference games, 18 conference games. I don't know. Uh, it was really difficult, and there was a lot of reasons for that. One would be the fact that we went 54-4 and didn't win it the year before. And I think in a guy's mind, he's thinking about that. I think there was pressure on those guys that they put on themselves. I don't think that you could take a guy like Nick Madrigal or Larnick or Rudge and think that they wouldn't think that they had not passed the test by not winning in 17. It was about finishing, and the injuries were unbelievable. And some of the ways we won some games in 17, that ball didn't bounce that same way in 18. We lost a couple one-run games that we certainly thought we could win. We're coming to town. Oregon State's coming to town. So how they responded, everything was difficult. I'll tell you, Minnesota gave us everything we needed. Max Meyer rolled in here
They were
And
good.
yeah, and so uh, it was, and North Carolina here again. Mike Fox had a hell of a club, and they beat us out of the shoot. Now I will tell you that we really were out of character. First game one in Omaha and lost. I think we made 3 errors in Omaha, and we were a very good defensive team. Um, we made things difficult, and maybe that's who we are. Maybe that we play better with our backs pinned to the wall, and we had to respond. We did it twice. We lost to North Carolina to open it. You were sitting in there, and then we lost game one to Arkansas. And so I'll just tell you that it wasn't easy.
And Adley Rutschman, 2018. Remember in 2017, I'll never forget talking to you guys, you and your coaches, and everyone just saying that, hey, Adley Rutschman's going to be a star, but the numbers just weren't showing that, right? Like
Right.
he was kind of still doing the football thing, and he's a switch hitting catcher. He's got a lot on his plate. And then in 2018 in Omaha, like it felt like he didn't make an out for 2 weeks. Like it was just lasers all over the field. I can't remember if he got most outstanding player if Kevin Abel did, but man, Rutschman was bonkers how good he was in Omaha that year.
Oh, he was just, and he just, and here again, like you said, he doubled up his freshman year. I think he hit 178 left-handed and 272 right-handed his freshman year. But still, even his freshman year, you know, I know I mean, he played football, so he didn't play fall ball. We go down to Surprise, as we always did, as you well know, and had the tournament in. So we first game, I got him in the four hole, and Bale says, "Case, you got Rush in the four hole." I go, "Yeah, I want him to know he's going to be a superstar forever." And he
That's
don't need to
great.
prove anything. And he in the World Series in 18. You're right; they just couldn't get him out. That was a 2 week period where everybody in professional baseball said, "Wow, this guy's different, and he's different than everybody out there just about because he plays a premier position defensively and does it like he's a shortstop. Smooth, can block balls, can go get balls, can hit from both sides, has power. Just the full package. And I see him being one of those guys that's going to be an all-star for a long time in the big leagues. I think he's just, I mean, as good a player as you could coach at the college level, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's so many great things about of course, his junior year, everyone knows he's going to be the first pick in the draft, and there's the expression "play badly" for Adley, and then I'll never forget I got to do Sports Center that year for the first time ever, and I'm trying to explain to two anchors who Adley Rutschman is. Clearly, they've never seen a college baseball game before, but we had the clip of him tackling Christian McCaffrey on the kickoff team. It was like, and then they were losing their minds wanting to know more about Adley Rutschman. So just incredible.
He's an NFL kicker if he doesn't choose to be an all-star baseball player.
I'll bet.
Yeah, I mean, he kicked a 63-yarder in high school in a game.
It's so good. He was, yeah, just incredible.